Letters of Khorne.
Did anyone seen the domination? No, the faction war that turned it, and then the final battle, where like the War Sled went down a hill and just died.
Yeah, no,
They take fall damage.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of chariots Slanesh in Cafe land like driving over and just fall and die. It's like CA.
I didn't even know there was fall damage in the game.
Yeah, I didn't even. I saw,
check this jump, dude.
Take like this, I saw half an army of Slanesh chariots disappear in campaign. It's like, oh no, chariots.
That would explain why the Slanesh battle only has it going uphill, never downhill.
Slanesh can never have the high ground. Slanesh likes to be under people.
Yeah.
Alright, we're live.
Bottom.
We're live.
Oh, okay, so that's the first thing everyone heard.
Willow? What?
Have you got the Discord muted, Widow?
What do you mean? No.
You're getting pinged every 2 seconds in.
No, I mean, yeah, I have that. It's fine. You know, I
wait,
have notifications
I actually
enabled for this
realized
goddamn server.
I don't have it silenced, so I do hear the pings, but
Ba-ding,
it's not like
ba-ding,
super
ba-ding.
loud.
Alright, well, hello everyone too, because this will probably be around about the start of the video. Hello and welcome to a tier list, or an informative video going over the Khorne and Kislev rosters for players against players. So this is a very PvP focused roster. It probably isn't anywhere near to what it could be in campaign, although this will apply hopefully overall in domination, land battle and multiplayer campaign, just generally in the hands of players against other players.
So Willow, which one do you think is the best?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Take it slow and steady. We got plenty of time. Quick disclaimer: these are the opinions of the mentors and very specific people. Your opinions and experiences may differ. We are not liable for anything we have as an opinion.
And we're not liable for your losses either.
Yeah.
Alright.
Any pain or loss, we're not liable for. Etc.
Especially when playing Khorne, because you're picking Khorne.
Yeah, Khorne, Blood for the Blood God.
Please find that complaint department, Willow6669. I hope I said you right.
Yes, you did.
Alright, let's see. Do we have?
We're going to be starting off with Khorne today.
No, we are not.
No, we're not. We're starting out with Kislev today.
We're going to Kislev. Really?
Lycus has done more of the roster so far.
Oh, okay, yeah, because of...
Way more. Well, we'll start from the bottom left. Well, you know, generally how to
You're not
this.
streaming?
I am streaming.
Oh, you're not online for me.
YouTube.
YouTube.
The future is now.
Future is now, old man.
The future is indeed now. Now, first of all, what we've got there is the Griffin Legion. Let me see if I can. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'll do.
So pretty much we're just ranking all the units then, right?
Yeah,
We're not
and
actually
also, we're going through
over
them. We're going
statistics.
through them stat-wise and just what their general purpose is. All such things. A quite informative tier list.
Okay.
Look at that. Right, so first up, we've got here the Griffin Legion. These are the most expensive cavalry, apart from Warbears, but those are just like monstrous cavalry, to be honest, that Kislev have available to them. They're heavily armoured. They are a shock cavalry, which means they're very much focused to take advantage of that full charge bonus, cycling in and out, over and over. They've got the usual Kislev abilities and such. Decent health pool. They're a tier 3 unit just because of how expensive they are.
Charge bonus 72.
Yeah, charge bonus 72, which is why I want to make up that huge charge. Everyone's opinions. What's everyone's opinions on this unit? Show the class.
They're like ground knights, but without the magic damage and also physical resist. But they do cause fear, which is it's actually no. They're chaos knights with lances without the melee attack and defense bonuses.
Yeah, they're more I think they have more charge bonus than Lances do.
And they're faster. No, they have chaos knights. I think have 80%.
Oh, right.
One in between there, but they are faster than actual heavy cav. Most heavy cav, because heavy cav tends to be around 68 to 72.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually seem to be able to outrun a lot of other cavalry, which makes them...
Yeah, not so much of a heavy cavalry actually. They're quite fast, quite speedy boys.
They're for 100 armor and 75 speed. That's pretty fast, and they have cause fear, which is the only redeeming quality of chaos knights.
Mm-hmm. What about you, like?
They're just better. They're I would say, better versions of Chaos Knights with Lances.
They are
because they
cool
have-
looking as well, actually. That does give them bonus points. They look like winged
Yeah.
hussars. That would give some
What?
bonus points. They look like winged hussars. I'm just looking at chat.
Isn't that the Winged Lancers?
I mean, so do the Griffin Legion. Griffin Legion have
Okay, fair enough.
two,
Fair enough. Yeah.
whereas the winged lancers only have one wing.
The Winged Lancers only have one wing.
Yeah, not so winged.
Anyways.
So what are we thinking on the tier list? Where do we put these guys? A high tier cavalry,
Probably.
quite hard
Probably
hitting, but also
somewhere-
quite expensive.
Yeah. Well, how much do they cost again?
Some people have the game open. How about they tell us?
Yeah.
Like us. Okay, maybe you.
I
It's
would-
like a,
I
a
would
little
say like if they're cheaper than Chaos Knights with
What's this?
Lances.
Griffin
uh,
Legion.
Griffin Legion cost
I think it's
1200.
1,200. Yeah,
Oh,
1,200.
wow,
that's-
yeah, no, that's cheaper than a Chaos Knight with Lances.
Mhm.
well,
so-
what
I
are
would
the
say
prices?
they're at maximum
They're-
B because
yeah,
I find their damage output a bit lacking, which is actually surprising because I feel like they have good stats.
Well,
Yeah, they're a decent
yeah,
unit.
they have good
So,
stats.
I-
I think that's can be chalked up to issues with the unit AI and
So-
them not functioning properly.
Comparatively, I have not played Kislev, full stop. But comparatively, they don't seem a massive upgrade to Winged Lancers. They're 350 more. They have
Yeah.
20 more armor, which is good. 5 more leadership, which is meh. 9 less speed. 8 more melee attack, 6 more melee defense, 10 more weapon strength, and 12 more charge bonus for 350 more. It's not really
Yeah.
worth it in my eyes. For the same price as 2 of them, you can get what's that? About 3 Winged Lancers in.
Yeah, winged lancers are comparatively pretty similar
Yeah,
in that charge bonus.
comparatively.
And unit count, same amount of models. Yeah, I think the Winged Lancers. Yeah, I think I agree with Lycus, like B tier.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well, they also have 10 more stats across the board. Again, how I feel, they should probably sit somewhere in A given their lower cost.
but then you
that's
also have to think
thinking-
about them relative to everything else in Kislev.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's
Relative to like everything else, I'd put them like B or
because
C.
if
They're not a bad unit, but relative to everything else Kislev has available.
you
Mm.
upgrade Winged Lancers to max chevron. They're
Yeah.
21 gold less. They have less armor. They have more leadership. They have more speed. They have the same melee attack, 2 less melee defense, 10 more weapon strength, and 12
Yeah.
more.
I
charge
would
bonus.
agree somewhere between B and C just because
Yeah,
with
low B.
how Kislev works at the moment with like really high on the shooty part and the War
Yeah.
Sleds, I feel like
We can move
you don't
things
need an
comparatively.
Well,
expensive
that's-
unit to chase down shit, you need a
Yeah,
cheap unit to chase
what
down
I was
anything
gonna
that
say.
routes. And with
Yeah.
the amount of demons on the
Uh,
field, there's no really a place for heavy cavalry at the moment because
There's no
well,
real.
none
that's-
of those are going to route and you can't chase them down. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. If I had a
that's-
bonus first large, I would say it'd be better, but without it, there's not really a lot
Well,
of
the other
use.
part is the fact that everything they're facing, unless it's Cathay, is they're never going to run. So Hammer and Anvil is
Ogres.
super effective, and you're dealing with Furies, right?
I
And
think winged
Ogres,
lancers
like,
will also beat Furious just as well.
yeah, they will, but they'll still lose enough health to, like, because again, a Fury usually has more melee attack than they have melee defense, right?
Yeah.
So they're still going to lose a decent amount of their health. So that's why they're falling so low. Like I'd say, the least B, I guess. But
We'll put them at B
I'd
now, and
want
then we'll
to
see.
say
We'll,
A,
we'll,
but
we'll
it's
move
the
around
fact
at B. We'll move them around
Yeah.
later on. We can have a comparative look at everything
Well-
as we get onto the end. Next
Well,
up,
look-
next up,
Oh.
Kosovo dervishes.
Cosfight Dervishes.
Yeah, the archer variant. Let me get that unit card up.
Oh,
These are the
horse
archer
archers.
variant, which is not the dervishes. It's the other Kossites.
I don't. What's there to say? They're horse archers.
Horse archers there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Go.
The
they're
100
fast.
The 150 gold more than the non-shooty version. And for that, they get 2 less melee attack, 2 less melee defense, and 10 less charge bonus.
They are very fast, 92 speed. They are basically your horse archer. Very, not very much to take away other than the fact they're a horse archer. How effective they are in multiplayer, I wouldn't say very well. I haven't
they-
seen, like, in terms of skirmishing power, I know that War Sleds do just better. And if you want stationary
yeah, but
shooting
also
fire,
they're
you just
war
take.
sleds.
Yeah, but it's like.
Like that. I feel like comparing like every unit to the war sled is kind of.
I mean,
unfair.
value-wise, like.
Since they're,
It's-
yeah,
I
but
mean, it's
again,
supposed to be what's in the roster, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
like-
it's
understand.
fair to
I mean,
compare it to a unit that's really, really good.
One
Yeah, that's
advantage
really
the
good,
horse
or-
archers have a Willow, which we're not looking
in
at
some
here,
cases
is,
too good.
is they can run off units very well and not really be that much of an impact that you'd be losing in the fight.
Yeah, these
But
have very
let's
similar
say-
things that like skeleton horse archers have that Norse Marauder.
Yeah.
They're a nuisance, and then when something runs, you can use them to chase it off.
And let's say
Yeah.
hypothetically, like, I don't know, it's somebody puts a unit Furies on these guys. I'm assuming they will probably do enough damage to Furies to make them viably worth it, because unlike the other units, they can shoot. The Furies
Yeah.
obviously have to catch them. They're roughly the same speed, but say something like an Iron Gut unit starts to rout in the battle, you cycle charge into the back with these guys, maybe it breaks
Run
them,
off.
and then they can run them off and keep shooting.
I will say at the current moment, Cav is a little bit underperforming because usually you used to use it to chase stuff off. 4 of the factions you can't chase off. So once Immortal Empires comes in, these guys will be doing a lot better. Right now, I'd put them at like C, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
They're
say
still
as well.
horse archers, though.
They're
so
still
they
horse
can-
archers, but right now they're at C. Once all the Mortal Empires get brought in, and like the people that actually run away, especially Skaven, they'll probably move up a tier or 2.
Especially compared
Or
to
where
the
shock
ranged
or where
units.
shock cavalry is useful.
Yeah, when
because
shock
the
cavalry
other
gets a
problem
bit of a
with
change
the Griffin Legion is the factions aren't affected by fear.
Yeah.
Period.
Exactly.
So
Which
it's
just
like,
makes
oh,
for the
wow,
current meta
this unit I can't do anything.
Well,
makes these
with.
units a lot worse than they should be.
You got to remember,
Yeah.
especially compared to the other range units Kislev have, they're not great.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's.
Great.
Next up,
But they can avoid being caught as well.
Kosovo Dervishes, cheapest Cav in the Kislev roster.
Same barrel, different part of shit.
Your typical
Uh,
very cheap cavalry, except from these ones come with slightly better melee stats, I think, but no ranged attack.
2 more melee
Yeah.
attack.
Two more melee attack.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah,
Next-
I
next
could
pick.
see them being used for something like running down any ranged units or tying stuff up, right?
Yeah, very similar purpose to hounds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not as good as hounds because they run. Well, I mean, in
Say-
terms
well,
of demon
no,
hounds.
IR blood kind of negates that because by
Oh
the
yeah,
time
that does negate that.
IR
actually.
blood runs out, they literally die.
Should be important to note. Kislev, by our blood means that whenever they hit a certain leadership point,
When
they
they rout.
just don't rout instead
Yeah, when they rout, they would then become unbreakable
for
30
about
seconds.
30 seconds, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Which certainly does help some of the units perform, such as Kosovo Dervishes, because you typically want them to really just throw them in to try and disrupt a ranged unit, and they won't run away, at least not for 30 extra seconds. So because of that, I'd probably put them for their value in the disruption. Of course, in the current meta, there isn't a lot to disrupt. Like these aren't going to do anything to Iron
Because
Blasters,
demons.
and Cathay is about the only thing you do anything against.
Yeah, all the cavalry in the game currently is just kicked in the shin because most of the faction you're facing,
Demons.
they can't even do their specific job
No, exactly.
of like shattering.
And it's like these
units.
guys aren't going to catch and kill pink horrors or anything, so they'll catch
Yeah.
them, but they won't kill them.
Yeah, or even blue horrors. Like
Yeah, even
they'll
blue
run
horrors,
into
they'll-
them, and then the blue horrors will just keep throwing attacks
And just
killing
eat the
them that
shield.
way.
Yeah. So because of that,
Put
I'd
them somewhere between B and C again.
Yeah, I'd probably put them.
Unfortunately.
We're getting a very solid C, and although that
Maybe
next unit,
actually, I
Oh,
would
yeah?
make a case to put them in D because they're
go on.
worse than their archer variant because they can't shoot at the moment.
Yeah,
that
they
is
can't
true.
shoot.
Yeah,
And at the moment, like we're talking about the moment, so I would rate them lower because you're only
Yeah.
paying 150 gold more for something that can actually shoot. So I would argue to put them in D, but I would still put
I-
D. Yeah, just
I
my
agree
opinion.
with Lycus that they
Yeah.
should probably be in D because they functionally don't have anything to do other than just unless you just want a mobile bunch of shitty light cavalry to run around, which isn't very good, unless it's maybe Cathay. Right?
it's just
Again.
not as solid in terms of this current meta. Is the issue?
Yeah, as also again, their horse archer variant is just better because they get to
Yeah.
shoot and have the same stats effective ostensibly. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Onto hopefully a better unit. I think we can all think is a pretty good unit. Warbear Riders.
F tier.
Well,
They're bears, clearly. They need to be F, but no. They're
Warbears,
monstrous cavalry
yeah, basically
with
monstrous
an
cavalry,
anti-large bonus, right?
anti-large and AP.
Yeah.
Very solid unit. A lot of HP, especially when you compare it to like horse archers and
Aren't
stuff.
they also like only at 1450 or some shit?
I think yeah,
Or
they're the most
1600.
expensive cavalry. I know that. I think it's
1500 actually.
1600.
1600.
1500?
1600.
16.
Yeah,
16.
1600 is still. That's what, as much as a Skull Crusher?
Skull Crush, I think, is only 1,000.
No, Skullcrushers are also 1600.
Okay.
Actually, no, Skullcrushers
Yeah.
I think even more. But
No.
Yeah, no. Skull Crushers with
Also
the Khorne
Crush.
Warriors on them is like 2100.
Yeah, we'll come to those after. But yeah, they are more. They're roughly the same.
Yes.
Yeah, so
But,
Warbear
yeah.
Riders, a pretty solid anti-large toolkit.
Yeah.
They beat
Well,
most large stuff in my experience.
well, here you go. Well, they have 77 AP with a 23 bonus for this large.
Yeah, 23
Yeah.
bonus was large. That's huge. That's like
The
They're doing
The key
roughly
things-
100 damage to large entities.
the key thing with the Bear Cavalry, though, is that they're primarily melee cavalry due to their low charge bonus. And again, it's kind of a paradox because you don't want them in any fights that involve multiple units due to their low melee defense. So if they get caught by spears, they will die.
Yeah, they'll get cut down pretty quick. And the low model cannons are easy to get surrounded.
For a little bit. As well as also their big targets, meaning any faction with range can just keep shooting them until they go away.
It's very clear that these have sort of the opposite effect as the other units, because these are very much designed for like a counter demon meta. But once the more ranged factions come in and the more like spear spammy factions come in, these will actually go down a tier.
If you bring these against Empire, you're just asking to die.
Yeah, in the current meta against 4 demon factions, I say they perform well and more better than they should, especially compared to like the other cavalry that Kislev have. Because of that, I'd say put them. I'm tempted either high B. They're better than Griffin Legion, but I'm tempted either high B or A.
Because Griffin Legion still have functional stats, right?
Yeah, it's just the issue that they're not for the meta.
Bear Cavalry have a very specific task. They can't run into infantry. They can't like cycle charge like the Griffin Legion.
No, they don't really need to in the current meta. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
With the current.
Right.
Yeah. Because of that, currently,
also,
I'd say B tier, but they could A tier even, but they could move down all the way up to like C, depending on how things go in the model empires.
Yeah.
Next up, Winged Lancers. We haven't got all day. We've got to really get through these.
Yeah. Okay.
Winged Lancers. All right, so this is the mid tier.
Griffin Legion, but cheaper.
Yeah, more solid, I'd say, than Griffin Legion. Any counter arguments to that?
I would say from a cost perspective, they're probably better, but.
Yes.
But also they have like a really shitty melee stats.
They do. They're pure shock. If you don't use these correctly, if you think like just charge them in and throw them into a melee, it's not going to work. Because of that, they don't really perform very well against that other cav.
These are effectively, I think like like Empire Knights, except slightly shittier in melee stats, but they're way faster.
Yeah, I think they're more charge resistant as well. I think, and way faster. But, so I'd say, again, this is between B and A. I think for Winged Lancers. What do you say?
Yeah.
Say
A? I'd probably put them in B with the Griffin Legion for the fact that it's the balance between the two. One is significantly better at fighting in melee and staying in there. Mm-hmm. And also, do they even have fear as well?
No. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. Winged Lancers.
Okay, then maybe. But the other side is they have shittier melee stats, shittier weapon strength, less charge bonus.
Although not by an awful lot. It's like 6 and 8 difference.
I would say put them in B.
Yeah, they belong somewhere in B.
I'd say B. Okay, we'll put them in B.
Take this into perspective of Kislev's cavalry. They only have 4 units, so for Kislev, it's a B.
Alright, next up, that is fucking Armored Cuirassiers, that's the one.
The shooty boys with axes.
Axe and gun. Let's see, where's that unit card? Armored Cuirassiers, there they are.
Where, when it comes to their turn, they say, I cast a gun.
So yeah, Armored Cuirassiers. Pretty decent melee stats, high armor. They're a mid-tier infantry. They're very much like a holdy infantry, but they also have just like some ammunition to fire. It reminds me of like old Rome 2, when you'd have like throw your javelin and then get into melee. That's pretty much equivalent to these guys.
They have what?
Shoot with their pistol and then they go into melee.
But they have so much ammunition.
6, yeah.
6 shots.
That's enough for like.
That's a lot of ammo.
Yeah, and because of that, you also want to leave these guys usually. You don't want to charge them in. You want them to stay still and shoot up as much as they can. Also, so they can shoot in melee as well.
Also, you're missing out on 12 charge bonus isn't really going to cheat.
Yeah, you're not going to use. Yeah, so this is actually the rare occasion where you don't want to counter charge. You want to stay put and shoot in combat. And they're a pretty solid holding line unit with their 38 melee defense because of that. And they also have, of course, the bound by our blood.
I believe they're 800, 900 gold or something.
I think I think this is the cheapest is Kislev infantry. I think it's like
750 actually.
500.
Where is it? 650.
650. No, the cheapest one is to cost us with spears for 500.
That's pretty value.
That's pretty value.
Yeah, and also they got by our blood, so they're an excellent holding unit.
An excellent holding unit. Though we do have to take into account like how that performs against other things.
Also silver shields
these days.
Well, even against missile factions, like they still have. It's not like Militia Company who have no shields, right? Like silver shields are
compared to factions that aren't in the game.
Are currently in the game.
Yeah, we have to do this currently in the game once.
Alright.
And when you're thinking about armor piercing units or great weapon units, which are the current counter you'd say to these, the pistols, because they have a great weapon usually means they don't have a shield.
they don't have a shield, so they at least take a bunch of damage beforehand, and then behind those guys are going to be probably regular rangers, like Hussars or Streltsy, just unloading on them. So it's a scenario that goes into their favor with superior firepower.
Because of that, I'd put them
you're against
B or
Siege,
A?
yeah, I'd say A, maybe, because they're just all around. Like, there's no reason not to bring the armored Hussar, right? There's not a situation you don't bring them.
What do you two say? A?
I would put them in B.
Yeah. Okay.
Because with how Kislev currently plays with War Sleds, and then like if you don't not up against range fiction, 2 elemental bears can work quite well. So, and then you use just Zargard because they hold longer. But
And Cap, do you have any opinions about armored Hussars?
Like I said, they're not expensive either. They're relatively cheap throwaway unit, so
Yeah, that's what
you're not like losing anything if you bring them.
I put them in A, I guess, because cheap.
because they're super cost efficient, right?
Yeah, for
Great
the
stats,
infantry.
good armor,
Yeah.
range attack, and also the Fire Blood.
They also have a great axe variant,
65
great weapon variant,
leadership too. Yeah,
which if I get these card and put them side by side.
you can't put it by so unless you put like a thing in between, like
I got this here. There you go.
8.5.
Put them between. Oh, I mean like putting the stat cards between each other. So it's the very they're dropping in the melee stats a bit there in exchange for the armor piercing. But again, like armor piercing in this current meta doesn't really have a place besides like Jade Warriors and Chaos Warriors from Khorne. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So because of that, they're probably just worse than armored Hussars, and they're more expensive as well. So I just put them like I might even put them C tier.
Probably, because there's no reason to bring them, because there are other units that can deal with armored units better.
Yeah, better than they can.
Yeah,
I
there's a lot
definitely put them lower than the all such as I'd say C tier.
There's better tools at your disposal.
Next up, Ice Guard with that dual sword icon, I think.
Oh, apparently Odd Ratio says you got a bit of echo.
Got with Echo.
Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah, just you, Willow.
Just me?
Yes.
Hmm.
Are you trying to make yourself sound like a god?
Echo. Why would that become from?
Let me hear.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you do.
Do I?
You do have an echo.
Where is that echo coming from?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you guys talk about Ice Guards with swords while I try and figure this one out.
Yes. So the Ice Guards of Swords is a hybrid unit that is one of the elite infantry that Kislev have, apart from Zargard, I believe, which have magical attack with frostbite, which is, I guess it's neat, with weapon strength. What? Oh, with bonus versus infantry, and well, I can't see what the lowest stat is yet, but. Where's Kislev? Yeah, here we go. But, yeah, so 160 range, so regular archers, 22 ammunition. Ammunition's magical, though, which is actually pretty good against demons. The fact that demons are all physical resist, so you do your full damage whenever you hit them, as well. And their missiles have frostbite, which slow down infantry whenever you hit them, or cavalry, right? Like, it's a 35% slow, isn't it, for frostbite, or is it 42?
33%, I think.
33% now?
I think it's now been pretty much every frostbite does the same, and I think it's 30%. Yeah, it's 30%.
It's just 30%. Wow, okay.
But it's every time is 30%. Also, a thing to keep in mind, I think the shield the sword variant, because like the most you see Furies in basically any demon army.
Yeah.
And Furies are infantry sized.
Yep.
So they're probably gonna do much better than.
Yeah, if you're worried about the guy bringing like a ton of are you going through a guitar effect pedal? That's Odd Ratio with these zingers. Classic. But he's probably right. But I guess, and also they're immune to psychology, which means you can't terror route them, which I don't think that would matter, because if they get terror routed, they just have Fire Blood activate, so, But, yeah, the slow itself is actually pretty useful, and again, like I said, with their infantry bonus, if you're afraid of Furies or someone bringing like 4 or 5 Furies to take out your Archer Corps, you could just have them have just some Ice Guard instead of just basic Kossars, because they'll kill any Furies that get in contact with them. The only problem is they're 40 armor, which is relatively pretty low for such an elite unit. It's like Sisters of Avalon levels of armor, where like any spell will mess with them or will hurt them a lot. I don't know. Anyone else want to add anything?
Oh, okay, I see. 1 second. No, I've just fixed
Did you
my
figure
issue.
it out?
I figured it out.
Okay, I'd say they'd probably be somewhere in B, given the fact that they are very good against a lot of the demonic
There
units.
you go. That should work.
They themselves also have very low armor, no shield, and can be, if they get caught by anything that isn't something they can reliably fight super well, they could end up dead.
So what's everyone saying? What's the general consensus?
I think they sit somewhere around like B.
B? Marcus, what do you think?
I would put them higher than the spear variant, but that's about it. Maybe B.
Yeah.
You don't see them that often. But
You'd put spear lower than the sword variant.
yeah, just
Yeah.
because of the fury problem.
Yeah, because because a lot of times if a big demon's reaching your backline, you've probably already lost the battle. Right?
Yeah, it's about right.
Like, if your bear cavalry or War Sleds couldn't deal with all of the cavalry around them, you probably aren't going to win. So B, and then the spears would be C.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, on to a much less prestigious than the famous ice card, Kossars. The cheapest unit in the Kislev roster?
Yeah, Boris and his pals.
Little Kossar buddies?
Yeah, they're 500, I believe. Correct?
Are
Yeah,
they?
500.
500, yeah. So
450 actually,
yeah,
if
that's
you're
what I thought
not
it'd be
taking
cheaper.
the spear variant.
Oh, the spearmen are 500, okay. Yeah, it's a hybrid unit that does, we have the stats up here.
Oh, it's
Yeah, Kossars, 26 to 28, so it's kind of like, it's like having light cavalry, it's like the usual, like,
Yeah,
shittier
it's like-
stats than basic infantry.
Yeah, it's
but
like
better than
Empire
most other
Spearmen,
archers.
but they also have an arrow, like a bow and arrow with them.
Yeah. Bow and arrow. Like, this is like really basic. I'd say the Kossars are more akin to, I wouldn't even call them hybrid. It's just they'd be the one where it's like decent in melee combat. That's it. That's the type of archer they are. So
I
like
can
you're
honestly say the Kossars with spears could be B and the other one just D, because
is
why
D.
would you ever bring, for 50 gold you get 15 bonus versus large. You
Mhm.
can deal
more
with
melee defense.
more melee defense, and like this is what you want. You don't need a archer unit that's good in melee. You need at least
An archer unit that can
deal
hold.
with maybe light cavalry that's harassing you. If you
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, if you can get attacked by hounds, well then the spears are useless. But
But
if you get
also
attacked by
there's
anything larger, it's still useful.
well, actually, against hounds, the spears might do a little better because they actually have higher melee defense than attack.
Also,
Because your
true.
objective isn't to kill the hounds; it's to drive them off and survive.
Yeah.
That's usually the scenario. Also, the spears have the charge reflection, meaning if you do see those hounds coming toward you, you can line them up. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we're saying regular Kossars like a...
Regular Kossars in D, Kossars with spears in C.
See?
Yeah, maybe C or D. I could see them in both, but let's put them in C because otherwise we have too much.
Too much variation. Alright, next on to a unit I think it performs very well for its price, Streltsy. Streltsy are typical, as you've seen from Kislev so far with their hybrid infantry, except they have guns. Full rifles, not dinky little pistols. Which dishes out quite a bit of damage. And they have AP in melee as well, so when they run out of ammo, they can also do pretty good damage in melee on top of that. And their price is, what's their price? Can we get their price for Streltsy?
Well, we could check. 850.
850. Yeah, that's pretty solid, I'd say. They're a gun unit. They have high leadership, decent armor, melee stats for the cost,
Yeah.
armor piercing in both melee and ranged. Pretty solid unit in my experience. What's your guys' thoughts?
I would agree there.
Yeah, armor. It's Streltsy. It's armor piercing, and their melee stats are okay. It's again decent melee combat. Like,
Could we
they-
say they're
and their
better
armor
than?
piercing.
Could we say they might be a S tier for the Kislev roster?
They're just handgunners with decent melee stats and some armor piercing melee attacks, right?
Pretty decent melee stats and high leadership and armor.
Yeah. So I'd probably put them B or something.
Put 'em
not
B?
A.
I would put them in A, maybe. I wouldn't put them in C.
S.
What did you say? S? No, I wouldn't put them in
We'll put
S.
No.
Okay, we're saying A. I think A is a general average.
I guess so. Yeah.
A it is.
Yeah.
Because I say of all the range units, I definitely see Streltsy the most, and I'd probably bring Streltsy the most out of all of them. So putting them at A makes sense. Next up, one of the most expensive infantries for Kislev, the Zargard. These are your typical very heavily armoured, non-armor piercing, unless you take the armor piercing variant. Very akin to, I think Chaos Warriors is a good standard, maybe even Chosen for their price. Like,
Yeah,
akin to
Chosen
just a very
are,
heavy infantry.
1250. Streltsy are like 750, right?
I mean, Zargard.
Zargard are 1,000 and the Great Rune Weapon is 1,100.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have their uses if you're boxing. If you're boxing, they're really, really good.
Yeah, 50 melee defense. That's a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
they
they're-
are quite expensive.
Wait, who? Where's the Zargard?
8,800 HP, 90
Yeah,
armor, and a
it-
silver shield. Definitely the
If
best.
you're blobbing, they're really like you're blobbing their S. But if you're not, you're just paying for a really, really expensive unit that cannot hold that much ground compared to like 650 for the Kossar.
The Zargard with
50
great weapons
melee
get 8
defense isn't
anti-infantry.
something to sneeze at, though.
No,
it's like-
but if you're getting surrounded, then it's not that useful.
How much is the anti-infantry in the great weapon variant?
Checking.
How much anti-infantry is that?
10 only. It's
Only 10?
basically
Yeah, that's
non-existent.
not even like that good. Yeah, they definitely seem like your typical very expensive heavy infantry, which doesn't do too well usually. Most of the time, especially heavy, slow-moving infantry is prone to a lot of stuff. Right now, it's not as bad because a lot of the heavier artilleries are in, Mortal Empires, but there is certainly a lot of AP that the demons have available. A lot of big boom spells and Cathay's rockets that just make these not quite as good as
Normally
they're cost
the
efficient.
Zargard should be fairly good, but the problem is the demons themselves are fairly, apart from Nurgle, are fairly mobile themselves and can just run circles around them, or
Mhm.
just ignore them entirely and just go for everything else.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're fighting in choke points, which choke points would be good for Zargard if you can find them and hold them.
Yeah, so for like game like Domination,
Yeah,
These are
Alexis
domination.
wants Streltsy in S tier, by the way.
does he?
I mean, I would
He-
say
he-
A or S, but
Yeah, I'd say A or S as well. Right now we're getting an A. We'll comparatively have a look back in a second. So
I mean, I would put Zargard actually, the normal Zargard, maybe in B tier, because if you're blobbing, they're really good. But
yeah,
if
you
you're
have
not,
those choke
they're
points, you can lock down as well.
not
That can be quite good.
as nearly as useful. So I would split them between like S and D, so end up in like B maybe. And the one with great weapons, C at most, because
Yeah, see it, because generally speaking, great weapon variants are usually just worse than the normal variant.
Yeah.
Except for unless you're dealing with dwarves, which to be fair, these guys would be maybe good against dwarves. The issue is how
So
expensive
probably
they
you
are.
would just go for Kossars and
Yeah.
a ton of War Sleds and basically just run
Yeah.
them over.
unless you know the map has a choke point that the Zargard could be really strong in.
And your opponent has agreed to not bring any artillery
Yeah.
for some reason. All right, next
Well,
up we
also-
got the Elemental Bear.
Good point, Alexis. He said Ted brings like 4 to 5 Zargard, so
I'd help you decide.
So they must be
yeah.
good.
They must be definitely good.
That must be bad. All right, so looking at the Elemental Bear, it is your
It only
typical
brings good units.
big single entity. It's unbreakable, armored with 90 armor. It's armor piercing. It causes terror. It has magical frostbite and 600 armor piercing weapon strength. Has its little elemental breath, which I don't see get used like ever. But that's most of the ground breath spells. And it also has 25% physical resistance, which unfortunately, again, against demons, doesn't help a lot.
To be fair, the breath spell is pretty high up technically because its head is way up.
Yeah, it's high
above
there.
the
They're just,
formation.
it's the same with the Bloodthirsty one. It's like,
Ah,
I don't see it
okay.
used too often compared to just charging it in.
Well,
It's also only got 25 charge bonus, so typically you charge it in and you leave it there for a bit. It also has 20 melee defense as well, so if it gets surrounded by infantry, it feels
or
like
any cavalry.
it does feel like the elemental bear is more akin to dealing with single entities. But then it loses to like bloodthirsters. The bloodthirsters.
It's like I'd say it should feel like akin to like a giant where it's got a big mass, throws things around,
big hit.
but is also a gigantic target.
Yeah.
Alright. Like I think there's a couple of scenarios where you can like use them. Like hell, you could probably have them back behind the line, fire at super expensive units and wipe them out with the breath before committing them.
But then this is like 2,000 gold, isn't it?
It is. It's like 2,100.
Yeah. I think it's the most expensive unit because of
Yeah.
singular unit not getting loads of heroes. So because of that, I'd probably put them about. I don't know what you
I'd
guys
say
think.
maybe C.
Yeah, maybe C honestly, because
I would put
They're
them in
very.
B because they're good against Khorne and Nurgle.
they would
That,
have good against Nurgle.
that's why I'm putting it in C because it's only good against very specific factions.
Maybe
or
B or C.
setups.
I could see them in C as well.
Is this
Yeah,
the bear
see.
one?
Yeah, it's the bear.
F.
F. Well, okay, so that will definitely average out to
Alexis
a
wants
C.
them in an F.
It is a
That's right,
bear.
It's,
Thus,
it's
it is
2,200 gold.
Yeah.
You can get so much more, but does so much better for that.
You could bring
It's
4.
slow. Its abilities aren't great. Its attack, I can't quite remember, if I'm being honest.
Nurgle has nothing against 2 elemental bears, and I think Khorne struggles as well.
Yeah,
Like
So,
like on Turin's
Right.
stream, like the guy knew what he was bringing, 2 elemental bears, and he couldn't deal
you're
with
not-
it.
Nurgle might not be great against them, but just because it beats one faction doesn't mean it's better against Cafe, Ogres,
Yeah.
No,
Khorne.
say that, but it's the overall meta they have to look at. Because of that, it can't really be F because it is good
I
in
would say
situations.
even still Nash is probably gonna have problems dealing with 2 of
I
these.
would
Yeah.
say D or F.
I can see I can see Siege and Cafe and Ogres absolutely deleting them.
Yeah.
Definitely Zinch, but you got
But-
Zinch would have a field day with them.
Yeah,
That's my
I'd
opinion.
say
D or F. But I like it can be easily sniped and beat back by stupid means. But the way you're comparing it like this is good players. We're not on about top tier tournament players right now. We're on about people who play the game for fun.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
but-
definitely say D or
Even
F.
then, for fun, it's
But
like
My
opinion, you
elemental
guys-
bears just get just dunk on
Yeah.
Nurgle.
Well, my point is that the Elemental Bear has very specific matchups it wants to be put in, and that's why it's C, because it's not good at everything. It's only good at those specific things, like the spears
It's
or
only good at
like
one
the horse
matchup.
archers. Yeah, exactly.
But that's one
So
matchup.
what?
Yeah, it's
If it
fair
was
to
good
think
to
about like
play-
horse archers typically are better in more matchups than the bear. Because of that, I'd probably put them at D.
Yeah, even
Okay,
even
yeah, fair
because
point.
I'd say D or F. Hard.
I'd put them at D. I'd say D. They definitely have their uses in like the Nurgle
Very
situation.
niche,
situation.
very niche stuff
Yeah,
or
outside of that.
surprise lineups.
I'd put them at D.
But you guys can disagree all you want. That's my opinion.
Yeah, again, these are opinions of the mentors and general consensus at best. So do not take everything with a grain
I'd
of
say
salt.
the average of our opinions is D.
Yeah, on everything.
Yeah.
I think there's some outliers
Because
there when
Alex
some people just say F.
also agrees with Incap that it's also F.
Yeah, so
And
You
it's
know
a
what you've
2200
done.
gold
Now
and
Ted is gonna
every
bring them in
single-
every single fight we do against him for the next
There's
5
no,
years,
it's a furry thing,
guys.
he'd never do
Put
it.
them in B tier. So you can put them in B, but I
I want to
No,
spare us.
he can't. That means he'd lose out on 2 Zargard.
God forbid. Next up, we have the Snow Leopard, which I think is one of the cheapest single entity monsters I've ever seen. At 700, it's fast moving, anti-large, pretty decent stats. Only 20 armor though, which is the issue. And low weapon strength considering it's only 700 in cost, but it does also have that 20% physical resistance, and it causes fear as well. Low health pool as well, considering it's just a cat. What do you guys think about this one?
I have never seen it.
Nah, I haven't seen a lot of
the
it.
Snow Leopard?
Yeah, the Snow Leopard.
It's,
No, I really haven't seen it at all, but that doesn't say anything.
I've seen it. I've seen it against ogres, and I've seen it against factions that do bring like large
Large
entities.
entities, yeah. I can see it against ogres. I can see it against Khorne, maybe.
Khorne, even Slanesh.
Yes,
against
I
Nakai.
could see it against Slanesh. The issue is I can see it getting surrounded by those cheap anti-large cavalry really easily just destroyed.
Yeah. Probably. I'd say you could use them against what would be ostensibly a large unit like Nurgle would actually have trouble dealing with not being sniped by those things.
Yeah, maybe because just couldn't catch it. They got some plague bearers on it,
Yeah.
would kill it, but
I think
catching
I
it's the issue.
agree with Alex on this one. It's probably B because it's actually pretty okay all around. It's got 20% physical resist too.
I would say C.
I would think C, because again, I compare it to like the units in that tier, and I think horse archers I would be inclined to use more than the snow leopard.
Plus,
Or they're about
you
the same amount.
Yeah.
Does it have the Kislev ability though?
No.
I don't know if it does.
Oh,
No, only the people
doesn't,
under the
but it's
mortals
also
do.
isn't it unbreakable?
And yeah, no.
Nope.
60 leadership.
No.
No, it's definitely not. I've run them off.
No, it doesn't have the abilities, so I would put it low, like Willow said, in C maybe.
Maybe even D to be
Yeah.
honest.
No, I
like-
think C's
No,
about
I
acceptable.
would say it's
Odd
better than
ratio.
the Elemental Bear.
Yeah, Odd Ratio is pointing out that you could bring like 2 or 3 of them and just
Gang up on a single
swamp the
entity.
dude.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably a really good usage because you're only
Because-
paying like 1800.
Yeah.
Yeah, the issue
less
is when you
than
get
the-
into situations where like
Just
two
like,
snow leopards aren't going to
even
get
if you're just
smacked out of
bringing 2.
existence.
And also remember, they got frostbite, meaning whatever they hit is never getting away.
Snow
Or you
leopards will
use
probably
it-
be perfect against like against
Oh, wait.
lords on a horse. That would be probably what their perfect situation is. But
Well,
unfortunately,
that-
there's not
and-
many of those in the current meta.
Actually,
so.
also, what you could use them is in conjunction with warbears, because
Yeah.
warbears aren't super fast, right?
No, exactly.
so
they keep at
They
the same
can
pace.
run up with their 100 speed, hit a thing that was faster than warbears. Warbears catch it now because it's minus 30% speed.
Yeah, they do also have the speed frostbite effect.
Yeah. So
How much is the
that's another
anti-large
way
for
of using them.
How much is the anti-large? I mean, they only have
20
50
anti-large.
20, so yeah, they get to the 70 melee attack against large.
Yeah, that's. I feel like
I'd say
if,
C.
if you're, I'd say they're probably somewhere around B. Like they got the resistance. They got. They could be used in pairs to take out a horse lord or other monsters.
The issue
or
is
use-
the stealthy already do pretty good against monsters and warbears as well.
Yeah, yeah. But the other
the
part
case-
is that they can be used in conjunction with other units to
How many
make
gold
them
do they?
significant.
700.
650 gold.
650.
I'd say
That's
C.
Yeah,
actually
or
pretty
C.
cheap.
C or D, because you could
Oh,
not
I would
name
put them
one
in
monster.
C at the lowest.
Really?
because-
So you could not name one monster they could consecutively beat 2-on-1. Most single
Yeah, but
entities
also,
will
what
punch the
what
shit out of
monster
them.
is 650?
You
it's
can't,
Minotaur,
Alexis. You can summon them from a. Alexis was asking if you can summon them from a lord, but that's a pretty
Can't
sure a
No, you
campaign
can.
ability exclusively.
No, I'm pretty sure I've summoned one before.
Zarina can. No, can't Zarina?
No, it's I
can't-
think it's the basic ice woman.
If they are summonable, F tier. Why would you ever bring them? Honestly, if you can summon them, why pay?
Well, you might bring one and then have the other one behind. them or something.
The
No.
other.
Yeah, generic mage lords. I thought so. Yeah, the generic mage
Yeah,
lords. You can
well,
summon.
Lord or hero?
My
Lord.
view is like if they're that inexpensive, like 1,300 for 2 of them could probably bring down monsters that are more expensive, right? Because they're getting 70 melee attack.
I'd say we've
1300?
averaged out a solid C. Let's say we've averaged out a C.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, heavy war sleds.
Oh, they've got to be like a D tier because if you can compare it to tier 1 Warhammer 1 factions, they're going to get.
I mean, actually,
Well,
even against Warhammer 1 factions, I think these do pretty damn well.
We only do these against
The bear, the war.
We know how
the
chariots
war
did in
sleds,
Warhammer
like the
2.
heavy,
I mean,
the,
do we
the
need
bears,
to even talk about this one honestly?
I mean, the question. Okay, first of all, let's cover them. The fact that these are missile sleds, but they are very hard hitting ones. They run through anything. I've never seen anything stop
Yeah.
these in their tracks apart from like single entities.
Or
Yeah,
wagons, if
they-
they were actually working the way they were meant to.
And they have guns.
Okay.
And they
And
have
they-
how much anti-infantry do they have? Can someone check?
Cool.
They have 110 armor.
The light one has 20, and the heavy one has probably 20. Yeah, 20 as well.
20. So yeah, that's 58 melee attack they
A
get.
tier.
Very decent speed. I've never seen them like slow. They don't seem to stop. They also have those collision attacks for the heavy one.
What is their mass like? Could you tell us that?
It's fucking big, but I mean, I don't know if it's working as intended. To be
No,
honest.
if it's something like 2,000,
Yeah,
that's the
it's-
highest mass I've seen.
The thing with the war bears, like the war
4,100 for the
sleds.
heavy and
That's
3,500 for the light one. Honestly, I would say the light one is S and the heavy one is maybe A.
Yeah.
You think the heavy
Probably-
ones worse than the?
yeah.
I mean, the light ones are cheaper and they pretty much serve the same purpose. That's the thing.
They're yeah.
I think a Stonehorn's mass is 3,000. I think I haven't checked that one in a while.
Yeah.
35. So yeah, no S and A.
That's an A.
Yeah, it's the war sleds feel that they just perform way overperform for what they're worth as long as you click around. And like I've seen guys who would just bring nothing but War Sleds and just right-click around the map. Even if you shoot them, they can just run towards the thing, run it down, and it loses.
The only thing I've seen actually beat them reliably is if you corner them with hounds and surround them with Khorne, the Khorne warhounds.
Yeah, the Khorne flesh hounds.
The flesh hounds wrap them, but you need to catch them.
But that's kind of telling. You need a unit that's viewed as way too powerful to kill a unit that's already too powerful.
Yeah, Alexis wants to point out light war sets are much better, so yeah, definitely S tier. I mean, if you just compare the light war sets to the heavy war set, you don't need the heavy war sets. You could argue to put the heavy war set basically in D or F because you don't need it because you have the light one. But I would say the heavy one is really good as well, so put them in A tier probably. Just there's a difference between the light and heavy ones.
Finally, for Kislev, we have Little Grom.
I'd say D. It's a cannon. It's a single cannon. It's really accurate,
but it's a single cannon.
It's also a single cannon. It's also like, you know, moves at a general speed. Like, it's good if you're dealing with a faction that isn't bringing a ton of cannons, where you can just boom and hit stuff because it's really accurate. Like if they've got a slow-moving large target or something, or you've got like a unit of infantry you want to pick apart, or cavalry.
Yeah, and honestly, with Little Grom, I don't think I've ever really seen its chariot effect used well, at least.
Yeah.
Like, it's only ever really just been used as a cannon, because of that you're wasting a lot of money.
You could probably use it as like a single entity chariot pretty okay. It's like 5,000 health.
Yeah, the issue is that
Use
it really gets that far.
Will just completely shut it down, but getting to the hard part, yeah, I'd say C.
I'll put
D.
Yeah, strength's 450, 500. That's a lot. Actually.
I would say it's equal in use to the Elemental Bear.
I would put it in D.
Yeah, I'd also put it in D.
D.
Like it has its very specific uses, but currently in the current thing, bringing a Little Grom isn't really that great.
Okay, so let's have a quick overview of Kislev, and then we'll move on to Khorne. What's anyone think anything should be moved particularly? I'm feeling that maybe the F tier unit is this cavalry, the Kosovo dervishes. I'm feeling
probably
that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that if there's a worst unit in the Kislev roster, it's probably that.
Because you're never going to bring them.
No, ever. Like literally, I can't even maybe against Cathay and that's it.
You're saying this cavalry, but your stream's got like a minute delay.
Kosovo dervishes.
Oh yeah. Why do you run them over via archer unit?
I'd say the archer unit still has their use. It's a really cheap archer, and so I'd still put it at D. I might even move them up, maybe.
I would maybe move the cannon to C. Again, that's opinion, just because it's fast for a cannon.
It is fast for a cannon, but
range is average. Its AP, its weapon strength is quite high, and against things that don't have range, like Slanesh, for example, that's quick. Nurgle, more or less.
But Slanesh actually got the Soul Grinder, which probably outrates this.
No, Slanesh Soul Grinders don't have any range.
Yeah.
Slanesh is the only Chaos faction with no range whatsoever.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Excluding spells, of course.
Yeah.
So
which even then they don't have like a magic missile, I don't think. So.
But I'd say it's a back C, like a low C.
Low C.
So high D, low C.
I mean, like the Elemental Bear makes me just want to move that up as well, if that's going up. Because I'd say that actually, I'd say like Little Grom's worse than the bear.
Difference is though, bear's big target. It's easy to sort of like just focus down and poke if you really need to, or if you're corny, just land like.
I mean, Grom can be actually focused. I think Grom loses to any 4 cannons. Same as the Iron Blaster has the same issue, but it's not as powerful, hard hitting as the Iron Blaster.
You know, things like against Nurgle, Khorne, and Slanesh, where we don't really have the range to get to it, they have to walk to it, so we can do somewhat more damage. Whereas the bear's only good against Nurgle, depending if you bring a certain Nurgle build as well. If you bring, I don't know, a different build, it might do better against the bears. But
one thing I might do is I might move Armoured Corsairs down by 1. I mean, the Great Weapon variant. That's the Armoured Corsairs Great Weapon variant, because honestly I never like ever, compared to the regular variant, I can't see a reason why you'd bring the Great Weapon variant.
Great Weapon, maybe when Undead Factions come around, might be good, but right now...
Yeah, right now I'd say it's probably, yeah.
I see a point in putting the Great Weapon variant when the rest of your faction is so much better.
I'd probably say that's thereabouts. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might. Do I move? Because honestly, I think Strutz are really. That's not my opinion. I think they might be worthy of an S. What does everyone else think?
Alex also thinks
he
they're
also thinks
S
they're worthy of
tier
an
as well. I feel that they're like B in the fact that I'm viewing them just as they are handgunners with armor piercing and
They're
decent melee.
handgunners, but like the issue with handgunners is anything would just melt them like butter. These do not melt at all. They don't.
Yeah. I guess that's why they're S, because handgunners are also really good on their own.
Yeah, like you see how
if they
handgunners
get
would
to
delete
shoot.
anything if they get enough time to shoot it.
Oh, to be fair, being a guy who constantly uses a shitload of handgunners, I can attest to they will delete anything they shoot at.
And in this matter of like large targets with all the demons and shit, Shelty
Dodge
tend to
this.
have a lot of nice things to shoot.
Yeah. Even.
Yeah, we're talking about this game at the moment. Not how great it's gonna be.
How great it will
attack
be
is
in
good.
about 6 months when it comes
If
out.
you want to talk
Honestly,
about things in
they probably
if you wanna
will.
talk
They're-
about things in 6 months, take the light sleds, put them down in DT because they're going to get nerfed.
Oh yeah, there is.
yeah,
There's
they're,
a worry
they're
there.
probably going to get nerfed, or they're going to change the
Go-
mass so it works.
Go with what we got.
Yeah, go with what we
So I
got.
think right now, this looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks good. Okay, we'll keep it as this then. All right.
Yeah.
That is it for Kislev. I will post that in chat later. Khorne. Blood for the blood god. Skulls for the skull throne.
Oh, Willow, 1 minute. You haven't done any heroes or lords.
Yeah, I'll cover that in next session.
We'll
when we
have
do
our
Weeklies
own
and
tier.
Weekends.
We'll have our own tier list for just the lords, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that could be a good one. Yeah, we'll do a Lord and Hero tier list of all the factions at once.
Yeah.
Or just Lords at least.
Well,
Alright,
I was thinking of just the two together, I guess. I don't know.
we'll work something out.
To
That's just the units, and
streamline
then
it.
we'll do a Khorne roster.
Furies.
Starting off with Khorne Furies.
S.
S.
They get 42 melee attack.
Yeah, it's not often we start on an S, I
Catch
feel like,
anything.
but yeah, this might just be a start off as
This-
going over it. They are
They're-
flying melee infantry. They're very fast. They have Vanguard.
Unbreakable.
Ignore that
and,
health value because Incap has his game set to a different size.
Oh, yeah.
They have demons, which means they don't run. They have frenzy, which means they do even more damage. Of course, the melee defense
Yep.
isn't very high, but they don't need it to be high because they kill things so quickly. 110 speed, and they cause fear as well because they're demonic. They have their physical resistance. Oh, the magic was it that Khorne has?
Physical,
Magic,
physical, and magic.
Physical
and magic.
20% demons and
So,
25% magical. I'd actually say the rate here.
I'd
I would still go with S.
At the end of the day, they have 25 AE armor. They, sorry, health. Oh, no, it's more than that, isn't it? I got my
yeah, it's way
notes
more
up.
just because you're.
They
you're
have
on the
20
thing.
armor. They are very good, but I think Khorne has better things to what these guys do. I'd say the A, they're a very high A, but I think there's something at
I would say no.
Right now, we'll put them S. We'll probably move
Here's
them around. I think.
the
So I
thing
think we have
is-
to compare them to other things. Like we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll get to the other things. These ones
Yeah.
are the regular Furies. Let's just say that because you can summon these if you
They
use
can-
one of the
Well,
lords. I think.
Chaos Furies
Yeah.
are midway through the thing, the actual ones.
Yeah, those are the. I know these red ones are the actual Khorne ones, and these are the Chaos
Yeah,
ones.
ignore the Fury.
They'll put those at F because they're blue. Look at them. They're in the wrong roster. This is red. Red Town.
what did you do, Willow?
Next up, Skull. Actually, wait a minute. Actually, okay, I can delete these. No, we can't. Oh well, keep it there for now. Copy yes.
Just remove the blue fury.
Skull. There'll be an F. Skull Crushers.
Yeah.
I think that's those ones. Oh fuck!
Ah.
It's Skull Crushers and what's the other one? Blood
Skull
Crushers.
Khorne, Blood
Blood
Crushers.
Crushers.
Blood Crushers.
Skull Crushers are the
Oh, the ones
letter
with blood
riding
letters.
ones.
Yeah. So these are Skull Crushers.
Yes. No, these are Blood Crushers.
Blood
Yeah,
Crushers.
Blood Crushers are the blood letters. Skull Crushers are the Khorne
Okay,
warriors.
okay, right. Let's get that unit card up. So wait, so what do you think about Blood Crushers? Come on, spit it out. I haven't used them a lot myself actually.
in the Khorne roster.
They are. You're right.
I have not
Yeah.
used them a lot either. The
Well,
other
because
variant,
Skull Crushers
it's
exist.
Yeah.
I'd say they're a solid C.
They
have
are
place.
a very heavily armored monstrous cav.
I don't know.
16 models, empty infantry armor piercing, 40 attack, which is magical. They're demonic, so they don't run. But it's like they've got their Hellblade as well, don't they? The Hellblade effect that Skull Crushers
I'm not
have, where
sure
they
what's
once
it.
they reach a certain number of kills, they get a
No.
damage buff.
I think that's
Yeah.
Exalted only.
No,
'Cause
no,
normal
No,
Blood Crushers
Skull
and Khorne
Blood
have
Crushers
it.
get it. It's on the Blood Crusher
Yeah,
leaderboard.
it's right there.
definitely is. Okay.
Because Blood
Okay.
Crushers are mounted by Exalted Bloodlusters.
I would
Or
probably say
Bloodletters.
C.
They're anti-infantry too.
Mm.
That's not too
Khorne is
bad.
the anti-infantry faction.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
far from- Like even in game 2
Yeah.
and 1, he is the anti.
They also have magical attacks, which the Skull Crushers do not, which against demons helps a lot.
That would
Yeah.
be, yeah. I'd say they wouldn't be C, probably B or something.
Oh, why am I the Kislev from? Get out of here. Yeah, B. I'd say put them B. What does everyone think? B for now?
Personally, I'd say like a really high C, but low B. Yeah.
I'd say
I
B
just
for
think
now.
there's things that do what they do better.
I mean, we'll see now with Skull Crushers.
Also, what have you got the Kislev Rust of?
Yeah, no, I switched it.
Yeah.
Fine. Skull
Let's say
Crushers of Khorne. These are Chaos Warriors mounting the same mount. What is the mount called, actually, again?
They're called Blood Crushers.
Juggernauts.
Juggernauts, that's the one.
Juggernauts, that's what it is.
So these are Chaos Warriors on top of the... So if I get the unit cards comparison for Blood Crushers and Skull Crushers.
Skull Crushers are just straight AP. They don't have the anti-infantry bonus the Bloodletters do.
Or the magic. But they do have more armor, more leadership,
Way more armor.
but
What
they
you
are
want
not
to do
demonic.
is put them right above Blood Crushers by about a mile.
Yeah.
They don't have magical, they don't have a bonus versus large, but from my experience so far, they're just a straight upgrade.
They're also
They
not
don't have-
demonic, so they don't run.
Yeah,
They
do
also
run,
have
you mean?
shields, which is kind of useful against the the two Missaf.
Yes.
Yeah,
that are currently
against
in the game.
Kossars.
And
More
Julian.
charge bonus as well. Yeah. What is the price difference between them? Can I have the price difference?
It isn't.
It's
Crushers, like
1500 for the
2100.
Blood Crushers and 1800 for the Skull Crushers.
Okay, so
So
300
like
difference.
300.
Yeah.
You get 30 more armor, 500 more health, 5 more leadership, which is probably not that bad, 2 melee attack, 6 defense, 4 weapon strength, but you lose like out on the 20 anti-infantry,
Yeah, true.
yeah.
which is actually 18 infantry, sorry, almost 20, which is actually
actually
quite a lot.
that's
but
a lot.
Like
you
Skull,
also get 15 more charge bonus, and it is a shock
I-
cav. Like both of them are.
Yeah,
but
they're
they have
both
decent
shock
bonus
cap,
at still at the same time. I think Skull Crushers will perform a lot better against large, where Blood Crushers perform a lot better against infantry. I think they
Yeah,
are just
right.
sort of like the two sides of one coin. In that
Yeah.
regard.
Covered the 130 armor and the 15.
Yeah, the shield. Yeah, I'd say probably Skull Crushers would be on A rather than the other one would be B because just
Yeah.
their raw stats and their shield.
Everyone,
They also do get Frenzy, which does push their melee attack up to like I think 50,
yeah, about 50 or so, yeah.
and they have naturally a higher melee defense, which means they'll survive better in prolonged combat. They can shock cav and also sustain combat. That's what is also important, especially since they're monstrous cav.
Alright, popped in there. Next up, Bloodletters.
They are Bloodletters. They have
It's,
armor piercing. No, that's the Exalted ones, right?
No, even
So-
the regular ones do.
They
Really?
do bonus
Shit.
action, right?
They
Alright,
are
yeah.
850 gold, I believe, or 800. I think they're the,
Uh,
I think
No,
cheaper
they're
than these were.
I think
800.
800.
800.
I'm going off the top of my head here because I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty good at 800. They are unique. They're very good. But susceptible to archers. So
Yes, they have 30 armor. I remember them having a pretty solid health pool. If I compare them to Chaos Warriors, for example, because Chaos Warriors is a nice baseline. Where are the Chaos Warriors? Where are the Chaos Warriors? There they are. Yes, they have less health than the Chaos Warriors, but they do have the physical resistance, which comes with being a demon. They also
Yeah,
have magical
Chaos-
anti-infantry. How much anti-infantry do the Bloodletters have?
The should probably 18.
9 only, it's
Only
not
9.
really
Like
a lot.
even 9 kicks that melee attack up to what, 41?
Like, they're not. When you think about it, they're not bad as like an armor-piercing infantry unit. Like once the Immortal Empires come out and you're facing like more armored factions, not bad because you can just throw them in willy-nilly. They'd have 41 melee attack.
But in their
43.
current state, against other demons, they are the infantry with the magical attacks. Fortunately, the other demons don't really have any like armor.
I'd say
in terms of
probably
their infantry.
probably solid high B
Yeah, solid D.
for what they are. They're relatively quick for the Khorne roster as well.
Yeah,
Bear in mind everything else like 28
30
speed.
speed, 38 speed. Yeah.
They have good AP. They have good weapon strength. They have good attack.
And they are
melee
actually one of your cheapest infantries, I think.
Yeah, they're like your second cheapest infantry.
Yeah, I
Obviously
think
they have
Chaos Warriors is their
magical as
number
well.
cheapest.
They won't run, but
Yeah.
they will break physical and magical resist. Yeah, I'd say solid A, maybe. No, B. Sorry, maybe.
I'd say- Yeah, like I'd say probably like B because you can just bring them, throw them into the front line, and they will hold and tie
Copy.
stuff up. their
Well, if you want a holding
resistance
unit, you
to
go Chaos
I mean,
spells.
if you want a holding unit, you don't go for blood letters.
Yeah, you go Chaos
So
Warriors.
Bloodletters
Sorry,
fulfill
I don't mean
the
hold. I mean kill. Sorry.
Kill.
Bloodletters fulfill the same role in Khorne as Forsaken do in other Chaos factions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're-
just
yeah,
run at it
basically
and hit
Forsaken.
it, and
But they have 8
the
P.
unit will
and
die,
it's
and then
failure.
the bloodletters will die afterwards.
So I'd
Doesn't
say
matter.
solid B, possibly
Yeah.
possibly low A.
I would say weak
Yeah.
B, but okay, just because like everything
B.
in Khorne's roster is actually technically, or like not everything, but a lot of things are pretty good.
Next up, we have the Exalted Bloodletters of Khorne.
They're the big ones.
Well,
They're special because you can see on their face because all the lines.
The best way you can compare them is the Bloodletters. They are better than Bloodletters. They have better abilities than Bloodletters, but they are also about 400 to 500 more gold than
They are a
Bloodletters.
lot
400 more gold, I would put them
400.
way lower because you don't.
Yeah,
You don't want to spend
Yeah,
that much
they're
on an
just
not
infantry.
going to be able to afford it. But Khorne roster
they-
is already quite expensive for infantry. 1200 for basic infantry.
The only
Too much.
thing that I could see with them is the fact that like their melee attack is higher, and I'm assuming they have a higher infantry bonus, right?
13 compared to 9?
Yeah,
for
that's
football.
So no.
They have
well,
a higher, but
I mean,
oh, they also
it's
have the Hellblade.
50%
But
higher.
relative.
but-
They also get the Hellblade, which
they get the
means they
Hellblade
ramp up their
bonus, but
attack
also
damage.
they also get 55 at melee attack on infantry, and
Think
also
that-
fire attacks.
Think of it
Yeah,
like
but you have
this.
to get
same
80
branch-
kills for the
In the same
Hellblade.
branch, you can get
I'm not
two of these
caring about the
guys,
Hellblade.
You can
I'm
get
just
3
thinking of
Bloodletters in.
yeah,
So
that's the
for the price, no.
Yeah, this is something that I think is another thing that is really bad, or like not that good, at least in this current meta. But once Immortal Empires comes out and Undead Factions and such,
I would
they have a
put them
place.
in
But
D tier actually.
yeah, I might say D or C. Whatever
Yeah.
say.
I'd say Sieg. I think
Definitely not C because then you're losing any comparison to the norm. Like,
Well, the only reason,
Because-
just hear me out here. The only reason I'd say C is they do have more HP than Bloodletters, which is good. But
That looks
although the
like-
Hellblade does take 80 kills against things like Nurgle or fuck, Siege that doesn't exist. Nurgle or
Nurglings.
Sinesh, they can hit that quite quickly. But
Yeah.
again, it's a bit of a pain. But I wouldn't say they're a high C. I'd say they're like on the very far end, nearly D.
I would
But I
say
wouldn't-
given what else is gonna come, I would put them in D.
Compared to the Chaos
Yeah.
Warriors that we're going to see, I'll put them in D for now. We'll see how they go after
yeah.
everything, how
In
they fare with
comparison to
everything
the
else.
Chaos Warriors, they're not gonna perform as well, apart from the fact that they have armor piercing and fire like magic attacks against other demons. But
Now,
you could just bring more bloodletters instead.
Chaos Warhounds. I'm not even going to bring the stat card up for these. D.
They're warhounds. They're
They're
warhounds.
warhounds.
Just slap them in B.
B.
They're- Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
warhounds.
we
When
we
have
all
warhounds not been useful?
we all know why these might be ranked down in this current faction.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the flesh hounds.
Yeah,
but-
because they're. It's like even once Fleshhounds are nerfed, because of all the units in the Khorne roster, I think Fleshhounds might be the only one that are going to be changed, which is why I chose Khorne and Kislev,
so
because of the two
I'd say just
these changes. But
because
like-
the thing is, currently flesh hounds are probably S.
yeah,
Regular.
we'll get to them
warhounds are-
later, but it's like we'll put
So-
Warhounds in C, and I'll see how I
Warhounds
feel
are
when I get
just-
to War
yeah,
Fleshhounds.
no.
Chaos
I
Warriors.
feel
Chaos Warriors are cool.
yeah.
Chaos Warriors, just normal.
Yeah, Warrior
They're,
Chaos
they're
Warriors.
basic. Well,
A or
they're
S.
Chaos Warriors with Frenzy and Immune to Psychology, so they're better than regular
Chaos Warriors, yeah.
Warriors.
They are the only unit in the Khorne roster.
They're also the
In-
cheapest one, I think.
that has
Also with a
shields.
silver shield.
Yeah,
They're
Silver
also
Shield,
the cheapest. They
Yeah.
have stupidly good armor, stupidly good
decent
melee.
health as well, more health than the Bloodletters do.
S tier.
Yeah.
Always. I don't see an army.
I'll
without-
put them in A tier.
I
Fuck you,
think.
lad, there's
I
something
think.
different.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
they're
the
We should
Probably-
just look at
they're
all the
probably-
variants here with this as well. So they have come with dual weapons, which are anti-infantry and increased weapon strength, but lower melee defense, and no shield.
I think the Khorne Warriors with shields, because the thing is, they share the same melee defense as regular, like, Chaos Warriors with shields, if I remember correctly. Like, they're 42? No, they're 40. Okay,
So-
they're slightly lower.
Looking at
But-
these here, the
Yeah, but with
dual
Frenzy,
axes do the same job as Bloodletters, but they're more expensive. Or the same,
Yeah.
I can't remember. The
and also
shields,
armor piercing.
the shields are the only real holding unit that Khorne has for the front line.
So
so
would we
I-
say out of the three variants, the regular variant is the best?
No.
The
Yes.
regular variant is the best. The dual weapons are literally Norskin Berserkers, but with armor.
Is
I
that bad though?
Changed
I
my
would-
mind. they literally have almost the same melee stats, other than their speed and their armor.
I would say that the shields actually are the best by a bit, but I'd also put the halberds very high up as well.
Yeah.
I would
Like,
say, just because I don't think Chaos Warriors of Khorne are overpowered, I would put them in A because they're really
Yeah.
good. They're a front line that holds, and that to the frenzy they actually do some damage. Like they have slightly less, far less melee defense than Chaos Warriors from game 2, but
Yeah.
They
with
make
the
up for that
frenzy
with
they.
extra
You know
damage
what?
and
They will
leadership.
improve, like I said, because their speed's something lacking in the army.
I would put them in A because not overpowered. The dual weapons I would rate them way lower because there's only 9 melee, 9 anti-infantry
It's-
bonus.
Should we
And-
say
And
C,
you're using the silver shield.
C for them,
And,
halberds
yeah,
B?
like-
well, melee defense.
Putting them in SO doesn't mean overpowered. It just means they're one of the best units.
One of the
So
one of the
I-
strongest.
yeah.
Well, when you're putting like, okay, let's look at the pair. We're gonna put flesh hounds in S. Compare them with flesh hounds.
Yeah, it's also pretty good. I mean, how many other Khorne units can hold a line consecutively?
No,
well?
but do they need to? Well, it's something to go back and forth. But like in terms of what do you think here with there are
Yeah,
tier
I
difference
think-
between them, with A being the shield variant, B being the halberd
Yeah.
variant, C being the dual
And-
weapons
Yeah,
variant.
Yeah,
I
I mean, I could see the dual weapons lower, but
yeah, I'd
I
say
don't-
lower.
I don't
I think
The issue I have with the dual weapons is literally, I'm looking at it, see Norskin Berserker without any of the advantages of a Norskin Berserker.
it's
and
when you
only
compare
armor.
the dual weapons to Bloodletters, because Bloodletters have a lot of things that are wasted, like their armor piercing and the fact they have no armor.
Yeah.
Because of that, it turns out the dual weapons can actually be better at killing demons than the Bloodletters can,
But
At
because
least better
most
than
demons
okay,
have
yeah.
armor,
Bloodletters.
and they're all like basic infantry. I think
This is what I'm also looking at. So they're better than the Exalted Bloodletters effectively for their cost,
Yeah,
right?
they're
So,
better than
like, what,
Exalted Bloodletters,
800,
that's-
850?
I'd definitely say that. So yeah, I'd put them at C. I think that's a fair
we know
difference when
where
get
Flesh
distinction.
Hounds are going to be.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
Flesh Hounds, let's
come
just
on.
take a quick, let's get the stat cut out just so we can show the good people at home. Where is it? There it is.
Yeah.
So
Let's
these
see,
are
this-
basically a lot. They are demons, which means they don't run. They have Vanguard, Fear, 20% physical resistance, because of course they're Khorne demon, 95 speed, 30 armor, which is pretty good for a hound, 38 melee attack, 65 weapon strength, 46 charge bonus, magical
also,
attacks,
magic attacks.
and a pretty good health pool as well. I think when I compare them to
I'm gonna say it. They're basically what you guys all accuse Skaven Warhounds are, except they're better at it.
Yeah, but these are more expensive.
Yeah, they're pretty much the Skaven Wolf Rats, except better and don't have armor piercing. But that doesn't matter because their weapon strength is so high that they have relatively the same amount
They
of armor
also
piercing
don't
as the Wolf
run.
Rats.
Like, they're
Yeah.
just way better.
Yeah, no. I agree with you. Like, they're just Wolf Rats, but just better.
Yeah, so S. There we go. They're an S. Next
Yeah.
is the Bloodduster. No, Bloodlair. Wait, which one is it? So much blood and skulls.
That's
Fucking-
the
you can't-
Exalted Bloodthirst. That's just regular Bloodthirst.
Yeah,
They're
regular
Bloodthirst.
Bloodduster. That's
It's
the one.
not a lot, right?
Regular Bloodduster. This is a big single entity. Let me get the unit card up. And that weapon strength is off as well. Damn it, Incap. Why do you have to have different values?
Yeah. It is a big monster that goes running around at the speed of sound and
Yeah.
kicking all the poor
Big
people.
monster, anti-large. How's anti-large do they have?
25 actually.
25.
But it's not that bad. Like, it's
It's the highest.
80 melee attack.
This is basically a single entity. It can fly, and it's anti-large. It's like you took an arachnarok spider and you gave it flight.
Does it
Well,
have
except
frenzy?
it has less melee weapon strength than a fucking Ragnarok.
Yeah, this one's way too low. I mean,
Does it have frenzy as well?
this is Incap's variant. Or what's the
It's
actual number?
480, by the way. It's
480.
not 200. It's almost
Okay,
double.
okay.
Yeah, it's not 241. That's
Okay, I
Incap's.
was really confused.
Incap's working on different values. That's also why the health's so low.
Does it have frenzy?
It should do, I think.
Yes. Actually, it doesn't. Wait,
Doesn't
what?
have frenzy? It scroll through. You scroll through.
I don't think
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have frenzy.
It's got its
It
anger.
doesn't.
No, it should do.
But also, it causes terror, so it doesn't even need that, and already has enough high stats.
I mean, it doesn't have to get the extra melee attack, but I mean, yeah, it's basically
Can fly
very
as
similar
well.
to your typical like Charybdis or Arachnarok spider. It's a big single entity that's good at killing other big single entities, but it's flying, which makes it objectively better. Question mark? It's not as sturdy. I know the Bloodthirster. How much health does the Bloodthirster have, Lycus?
The exalted, the normal Bloodthirster has 7,000.
7,000. So it's pretty low compared to your usual. Like I think Arachnorks have upwards to like 8,000 or 9,000.
Then
Um,
10,000 something. I can.
Yeah,
check
giant
it,
is like
please.
10,000.
Yeah, giant is like 10, 11,000.
So it's not. It's got less health, but it's generally more of a hitter, damage dealer, and it gets the magic and the fire damage, which has its variety of uses.
The Ragnarok has even on normal or like the previous version, it has 10k HP. So on this, it would probably have like 12 plus, maybe even more.
So, what were we saying? B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say B probably. Like, it has its place where you can just yeet it into a formation and it'll cause havoc.
Yeah, it definitely has its place.
It can beat other like large entities in what it's supposed to do, right? But it's big and you can shoot at it.
I would agree in B. Yeah, cannons obviously rip it apart. It's for the cost you could bring things that do better. Because it's 23, I think. I mean, you could bring. I mean, we'll come on to saw grinders and lawnmowers later.
Yeah, because I think what holds it. Yeah, its cost is holding it back effectively.
Yeah, so B. Put it B then.
Yeah, its stats are effectively pretty good, and it has flying, it has all this other stuff, but it's 2,300 to bring one of them. So that's a lot of your army that you're spending just for this one big bulky unit. And if it fucking dies, right, you're just shit out of luck at that point.
Next we have the Minotaurs with both dual and great weapons. So one is basically that's not the right card. One is anti-infantry. They're both armor piercing. One is anti-infantry, one's anti-large. With the exact same stats, oddly enough. Other than the fact that one's anti-infantry. The great weapons have more charge bonus as well.
Blood Greed.
Blood Greed, which gives... What does it do again? Ryan does all for the class at home.
Doesn't it give, like, melee attack or something?
Yeah.
It gives up to 20% armor-piercing weapon damage, 15% charge bonus, and up to 16 melee attack. It increases by each kill made by the unit, but don't ask me how many kills you actually need to do to get it. Also gives immunity to psychology.
Yeah, so
depending
pretty
on
good.
One, I'd say.
Also, they're armored.
The Minotaurs with dual weapons, same vein as the Chaos Warriors with dual weapons, you know. But the anti-large, I'd put them in A or B.
I would probably say something against that, because the thing is, the Minotaurs of Khorne as well is that, unlike regular Minotaurs, is that they're all armored. They're all armored, and you can still like run them through, and they're still Minotaurs. You can just plow through an infantry unit and then bounce around. And what's their infantry bonus as well? Because again,
bonus for infantry versus large.
Because anyone who's seen how Minotaurs with like dual weapons work out when they're fighting infantry, they really go to town. They can kill a lot of infantry very quickly.
So the bonus versus infantry is 18. The bonus versus large is 28.
Okay. Yeah, that's...
From honestly, I would say the Minotaurs are D tier just because you have way better tools to killing infantry and you don't need them in the roster.
Which Minotaurs?
The Minotaurs, the normal Minotaurs. Minotaurs of Khorne in D, and the Minotaurs with great weapon in, honestly, B or A.
I'd say regular
maybe
Minotaurs.
B, because I think they're way better than, like, because you don't need anti-infantry killing power with Khorne. You can just use your basic infantry.
Yeah. I'd say the Minotaurs of Khorne should be C, because they aren't like shit. Like, you would not, like, you just, it's not like you don't want to bring them. Like, you can bring them, and they'd still do their job very well. And they could probably replace the units you're using, right? Like, if you want something that completely annihilates the front line in infantry form, you got Minotaurs of Khorne.
Yeah, but if you consider, like, my problem is with putting that high is because Khorne doesn't have it cheap. Like, Beastmen have Angors with spears. They cost like 300. Yeah. You can throw them in, and you could throw the Minotaurs in on top and just delete the infantry unit. But Khorne doesn't have this, because your basic infantry units is 750, and already does a good job. So you don't have anything to counter, like, to take the damage off. You need...
Granted, Minotaurs are faster than all the infantry, so I wouldn't think they'd be rolling around.
Anything that these dual weapons can do, the Chaos Spawn can do better.
Yeah.
So you could throw in the Minotaurs with dual weapons, they might do alright, but they have the same problem that Beastmen have with their dual weapons, which is archers kill them immediately. They get close, they get right, they're gone.
The other thing with the Beastmen one is that they're not armored. They have, like, what, 15 armor most of the time, or 40?
They do, but...
50, I think.
But still, they can get shot down and killed quite quickly. The great weapons, on the other hand, Khorne doesn't have a lot of fast-moving, relatively...
Anti-large?
Anti-large. I mean, the Bloodthirst is the only other roughly fast-moving, but relativity, it's not cheap, it's expensive. So I'd say Minotaurs Great Weapons DLC, 2 weapons DLC, and then Great Weapons A or B.
Yeah.
I'd say
I would say
I've slotted.
Well,
Personally, I've put in great weapons a B and then dual weapons a D. I'd say that's
I think
average.
dual weapons could be C because you can have them paired with like hounds or something to tie stuff up, and then
Hounds go too fast for them.
Yeah, hounds go faster.
they sit in a weird unless you pair them with another unit of great weapons, so they can cover any anti-like infantry problems.
Yeah, but then you're throwing in 2,000 gold or more than 2,000
Yeah.
gold into any infantry unit, and if it doesn't, 2,000 gold doesn't kill
Yeah.
an infantry unit quick. This is not Khorne.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Khorne does not struggle with anti-infantry. The only thing that the Minotaurs bring to the table is a big target to be shot at as they run at the infantry.
That's
Yes,
true.
which
That's
is-
true.
I mean, he's the problem at the moment as much as it will be, but
Yeah.
again,
The
we're
only-
rating it at
Yeah,
the moment.
in the moment.
Yeah.
With
the
like
only
so many magic damage or like units of
Magical
physical immunity,
options.
you don't want the Minotaurs with both dual weapons at the moment.
The only thing I could think of that would be an advantage is the fact of the blood greed, where they would just become stronger and make up their because they can wipe out infantry units, right? But
Ball of Khorne.
But really, that depends on
Yeah,
like,
I mean
All the
that's the
Call
point. The
Army
blood greed is
already
kind of
does that.
wasted on the on the anti-large variant.
on the large,
Smith
yeah,
is
that's
Soulgrinder.
pretty much the only other thing.
I think
Like,
I think
they
this
could-
is the average we've reached. So Soulgrinder or Khorne.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear everyone's opinion on this because this one's fucking nasty for what it is.
Yeah.
I think it is something. I compare
mean,
it to the Bloodthirster, and I think the Bloodthirster is just
see
a better
them a lot.
SEM.
See,
Yeah.
I would agree with you there, Willow, if his weapon strength wasn't like nearly double of Bloodthirster's. What's the Bloodthirster weapon
I mean, it's not
strength?
that much.
No, it's not double. It's like 20 more.
Yeah, it's not
Is
that
it
much.
not?
On the ranged, it has almost double, 800 compared to 480.
Yeah, the issue about that
But-
range is it can only fire when it's charging.
No, it can fire,
No.
but you cannot control who it fires.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can control it. You can fire when it's well, but you can't.
The thing that this has over Bloodthirster is you can bring a Bloodthirster to your general and 2 of these alongside it.
It's true.
Whereas a
You could bring
Bloodthirster-
Scarbrand with 2 Soul Grinders.
Could be Scarband with 2 Bloodthirsters.
With a Bloodthirster, you can only bring 2 Bloodthirsters.
For those uninformed, the Soul Grinder is like a spider-like monster. All 4 of the Chaos Gods get access to one. Khorne's one has a weird like flame cannon that fires at somewhat random. It's big SEM. It's got armor piercing. It's quite fast moving for an SEM at 75 speed. It's got flaming magical attacks. Pretty good melee attack and melee defense. As for its special abilities, it's a demon, so it doesn't run, and it causes terror. I don't think it's got anything special about it besides that.
So
You're
I
mainly
agree with
gonna
Willow,
just be
comparing it
using-
to a Bloodthirster. I'd say it's just above it, but it's not the end or be all of units.
But also, again, the thing with it is that you're mainly going to be using it first ranged initially, and not trying to like smash through stuff. Oh, I can fire while moving. So,
No.
No, you can't use first range. That's what. we
Yeah,
were
you can
saying.
fire on at will, but you can't tell it to shoot something.
I would put it in C because
yeah.
I don't think it's that like it has basically the only one of the few range factors that Khorne has. But why would you stay still with Khorne?
You don't have to stay still with it, like as it runs. It fires
can-
when
Pull the enemy apart.
Yeah, if you want a
and-
ranged unit, use the Skull Cannon. This basically isn't a ranged unit. It's just that it's like a Doom Wheel. You don't use a Doom Wheel as a ranged unit.
I would still
Yeah.
say it's better than a Bloodthirster, as I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kilikis is 500 gold cheaper as well.
Is it how much cheaper is the Soul Grinder compared to?
Yeah, I think you're correct with that. No, it's only. I mean, it's 400, but close enough.
400 cheaper.
And I don't see it like the Bloodthirster is an anti-large, or like, it's not an anti-large killer, but it's something that can kill anti-large. The Soul Grinder doesn't do that well.
Yeah.
It has apparently the same weapon strength, but because the
Can't-
anti-large can carry it, but it's the melee attack that can somehow means it doesn't hit every time.
What's the
Yes.
melee difference?
It's like
It's
the
the
Soul
anti-large.
Grinder has 5 melee attack less, and you don't count the plus
Anti-large.
28 from the anti-large in that.
Does-
25.
Does
Yeah.
it have frenzy? I have to ask this because I don't think the soul
Pretty sure it doesn't. I don't think any of
It
the
doesn't
demons
have frenzy.
doesn't. Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Only
I
mortals get frenzy, I think.
And you're paying for something that's way slower.
Yeah.
So
Is it slow, is it?
Also, it can't fly.
I mean, it can't fly. But it just
the
makes it slower.
Bloodthirster can fly, so it's per definition slower.
Oh, I thought you meant like genuinely.
I think
slow.
on ground, Bloodthirster does actually move a little slower.
Yeah.
See, I would still just put it above, just because in my eyes it's a better unit. It's a bit faster. Not, it's a, you know, what I mean, it does more damage. It's just worth it to me. Whereas a Bloodthirster, I can bring that as my lord.
Bloodlusters are more expensive because of that. I think personally I'd put them at the same tier as them. To be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't put a big plus. I'm pretty sure Sword Grinders have a lot more HP than Bloodthirst. No, not a lot.
No, not by a lot.
I would put them in C, slightly above the Bloodthirster, because I don't see it being more useful than the Bloodthirster.
Also,
I'd put it
but
about
I
the
could-
same. But let's average it out and say it's at the same level. Somebody thinks it's more, somebody thinks
Because
less.
also, like, with its ranged weapon, like, how does it even function? Is it just a flamethrower?
I
No,
think
it's
it's like a flame cannon, like a mortar shell.
It's
at
flame
times.
cannon, but I don't see it actually. I tried to use it once. I mean, it was slowly after the start, and it didn't hit shit.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's how it works.
very.
It's just not that
It's a
great.
120 range. I got it up here now. 120 range, 400 damage with a 4-second reload. It's pretty. Like the lowest reload I think was a Scourge Runner's, also at 4 seconds.
The way it's 800 damage. It's like all the damage are halved because Incap's on the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
unit
and-
settings.
Yeah.
But it's got a 4-5 second reload, which is quite good. I think. it can
Is it
fire
supposed to be
combat?
shooting at single large entities? Not like
No, it just shoots.
information?
Probably single large entities because
Probably,
of the
but it's not
huge damage it has, but
But it kind of defeats the purpose at that point when you could just be like, but I could bring Bloodthirster.
You go and
yeah, but you could like there's an argument to be made if you could pull the enemy apart and actually use the range, but like I tried to use it and it didn't hit anything, so
I'd say it's on
just-
par for Blood.
I'd say I'm par with the big.
Spawn
Yeah.
of
I'll put it
Spawn
like
of
that.
Khorne.
Spawn of Khorne.
is
Corner spawn.
Chaos Spawn. Yeah, it's
They're chaos
Spawn.
spawn, but
Yeah,
what's the
you-
bonus they have?
who the hell needs armor piercing if you have 190
190
weapon strength?
Yeah,
Like-
that's usually my argument when someone asks me why are you bringing Chaos Spawn against
Just
armored infantry?
Imagine
Because it
these-
doesn't matter when I have over 100.
Just imagine he's paired with like 3 of these 3 blood letters.
Yeah, or
And
3 of them
also,
and
they
3
actually have
Chaos Warriors.
50 armor piercing weapon damage, like 47 technically.
They,
But like this is more than some other spawn.
Yeah,
have.
yes, Chaos Spawn regularly have 160 base. They
I
have
would
30
s-
more weapon strength.
I'd
Yeah.
say these guys are nasty, they're really good. Like the AP is nasty. They have Rampage, which is a downside. Not for Khorne, because if you scans Rampage, they're pretty much already
Yeah, I
dead.
mean chaos spawn rampaging is never really a problem because you don't need to pull them out through
I
stuff.
mean, it
usually.
really never is a problem because they don't rampage in any other faction. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, if these guys rampage, the unit's already dead. You've probably got 2 models left in that unit, maybe 3.
And then it actually
But
makes
they
it
are
stay in combat.
unbreakable, which
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
they're unbreakable as well, but it actually makes them do more damage because
Yeah, it just makes
Yeah.
them run towards the
It's-
nearest unit, so you don't have to watch the micro on them.
Yeah, well, also, yeah, Rampage, like, it's not really a negative because most of the time when you throw Chaos Spawn in there, you expect it to die eventually. Like, it's like, still alive and still fighting stuff? I don't have to micro them anymore? That's neat. Because you pair them up with pretty much any other infantry, and they will just delete a front line with them.
The
Any life.
issue that I see is the fact that Chaos Spawn were really good paired with cheap infantry. Khorne has no cheap infantry. Frankly, Chaos
Yeah.
Warriors basically do the job on their own. They don't really need Spawn to back them up.
they
Well,
are
you could
still
have just one
really,
unit.
really good.
They're good just in the
Yeah.
faction. They don't play well with the other units because
I-
they don't mix
I
as well.
throw them into ogres and they absolutely wreck the ogres, which Chaos Warriors struggle against. They also
Yeah,
kill
they can.
the
Do Chaos Warriors struggle
Knoblers
with
in
ogres?
seconds.
Also, Chaos Warriors don't kill things quickly. That's one of the things
No,
with
they
Chaos
don't.
Warriors that is always a thing, is that basic warriors do not kill stuff super fast, even with Frenzy. But Chaos Spawn wipe stuff out very quickly. Like, the reason to put them with cheap infantry is just as chaff to be in the way. But you could have maybe 1 or 2 Chaos Spawn with the initial, like 3 warriors, or even 2 warriors you have, and they'll kill anything they make contact with, right?
Willow actually does have a good point there, because I've not played a lot, but I've played a few games of Khorne, but even when I play as or against Khorne, I don't see Chaos Spawn because there's so many other good options for what they
Well,
do.
because people just bring flesh hounds.
No,
No, like-
honestly, I would put them in A or S tier because they're
I
really
I'd say they'd be S tier if they were in Warriors of Chaos, but I would not put them
Yeah, no,
that high in
I'd say
in
A.
Khorne.
They're very-
Compared to the other Khorne units. I'd say B tier. They're very
You
good.
fell for my trap. I just want to put them in A tier, but I said S, so you.
Nah,
haggled me down to
I'd
A.
I'd say B, personally. in my personal
Somewhere
opinion.
in between the two,
You
A or
said
B.
about throw them into ogres, but if I see ogres against me, I'd run halberds.
Yeah, it's like they're good against
I
ogres.
would put them definitely in A tier because you're struggling against the Gnoblers if you're bringing Helmets,
Okay, so
but if you bring Khorne spawn, you don't need to struggle against anything.
If you're
Okay,
running
against
not-
ogres, what other factions will spawn
the
do good
thing
against?
is-
Also
Also-
against, like, they absolutely wreck the Nurglings, like, they kill them in
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
but
so
they-
they're everything in the
if-
Khorne roster. to be
Yes,
fair.
but they also kill the Marauders from Slanesh.
But this is what I'm
They-
saying here.
So does everything in the Khorne roster.
One minute,
Well,
one minute. If
Again,
if the
you're
cheap
missing
chaff
the
units
point, though.
No, if the cheap chaff units are your problem, you're burning 1,000 gold to kill one of those, you've got a bigger problem. Because if you're burning 3,000 gold to kill approximately 700 gold worth of units,
You can
You're not
bring them in
trading.
almost, like, yeah, but they're not, like, yes, they would be
I-
absolutely insane if you could pair them with, like, Marauders, which cost half the one that Carriers was do, but they already
but
are really good with
They're already
Khorne.
incredibly good because
Like-
again, they've got splash attacks as well that will wipe out chunks of a unit, right? Like that's the purpose you bring them for. They don't bring them just for like the single one, but they're also good at that because they have so much more weapon strength than they normally do. Like you can throw them into pretty much anything and do okay. Like that's the thing. Now people don't use them because they probably look at Chaos Spawn and think that like Warrior Spawn is like, oh, it's so okay, I guess. Or they don't
Like,
understand.
Using them in almost
the
any
advantage.
corner army, just one. And Domination, you can throw them in, they hold, I would say they're A. But, okay, if you really want to put them into B, but
I'll take the average and put them into A.
Willow, what
Um,
would you put them in?
I
If
put
you
them in
were
B.
doing it now, B, Lycus A, Psycho A, me B,
I'd
high,
say A.
high B, or what would you say?
I
Psycho,
think.
what would you say?
Yeah, would you say
I'd say A because they're just
Okay, so high B,
Statist-
low A.
yeah.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice and easy.
Yeah, so I'll
yeah,
put them in
because-
A just because B's getting a bit full.
yeah,
Yeah,
B's getting really full.
No, that's fine. I would also.
Well, we'll think about it. We'll think about it in a minute actually when we wrap up. Next, the Blood Shrine.
Is SS an option or no, not S. Oh fuck.
FF.
Is S plus an option?
S plus. is
They
not
have the
an
best, funniest charge animation
I
ever,
gotta
Yeah.
jump out first.
but I
see.
don't think they actually do that much damage.
Yeah, the Blood Shrine of Khorne. Let me get it up. Can you see what the ability is for the Blood Shrine? 'Cause
Yes,
that was
on it.
I believe it's supposed to be kind of like a meme.
Totem of Endless Bloodletting for once. It's an 35-meter range effect that gives
Yeah.
plus 5 melee attack, plus 4 leadership. And also Gore Freeze. That is probably like replenishes hit points if in combat.
just for it.
Yes, just for it, 0.1% per second.
So it
Which
is
is-
a big single entity chariot, basically, more or less. It's all
with
about
really
running
shitty
through.
melee
Yeah,
defense.
really, really bad. It's all about running through and keep going through and looping around and going back through again. It does not want to stay in one place for too long. But it
Yeah, but
does
it
have.
needs to stay in melee to actually regenerate.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So, kind of weird.
Counterintuitive there. I would. I think. I don't know. You go like this. You go like this. What do you think?
Honestly, I put it in C because just it doesn't seem to do the damage you want,
Want it
and
to
it's
do.
again another anti-infantry monster, and you have better anti-infantry options available.
Hmm.
And I don't see the heal being useful. The melee attack might
Yeah,
be
the
nice,
heal's just meh because its melee defense is so low that it won't matter anyways because it just die immediately if it gets caught.
Yeah,
in
if it gets
anything.
caught out, it
like
just
the
melt.
only you just want to put it near the infantry, but at that point, why not just bring another unit of infantry or bring a monstrous unit, right? Like
and its melee defense is so low, like 18.
I kind of want to
And
put it in
you-
F.
you
It's
You
just
have to keep that in mind.
useless.
It's still halved if you attack it from the side or the back.
Yeah.
So it's like 9 melee
9
defense. So
melee defense.
anything is gonna hit it.
Anything's
It
gonna hit
really
that.
needs that heal to stay alive. And
I might like. I
Yeah,
might be
I'd-
tempted to
I'd
put.
say F.
I'd say
the more I
wanna
think
put
about, the
F
more I put
because-
it in D or F.
I just want to put it in F because it like what are you gonna use it for? You can use like how much does it cost? Like 1,200, 1,100?
It is quite expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,100 for a piece of shit unit that's not gonna kill anything really because it's supposed to be a chariot that's supposed to run.
Yeah,
into stuff,
it's like I'd put Exalted Bloodlust as my army for this thing. So yeah, F it goes.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I used it just an example. I think I used it in one battle, against Odd, and they killed Cathay. Like they played against Cathay, so like only infantry.
but
They fought the entire battle, and they made back like 800 value,
Yeah,
800 gold. And it
no,
was
no
yeah,
damage.
but that's still not very good because the thing is, you don't really need the melee attack against Cathay.
No,
What do
they
you mean?
didn't even
And-
make half
and
their
also-
value back.
Yeah, it's just awful.
Which is especially strange when you compare it to our final unit, which is a reskin basically because it has a cannon on top, the skull cannon. The skull cannon is a cannon chariot. Again, they really like them for Warhammer 3 for some reason. I don't know why. And similar to the other two ones, well, apart from the Grom, it's pretty good, I think. Skull Feast allows it to replenish ammo in melee. Its melee strength is pretty strong. It's about that of a cannon, or a bit stronger. It's only on its own, so it's not like 4 cannons at once, but it does.
Yeah.
It's nice picking off, and it is basically your only ranged option for Khorne, because we don't count the Soul Grinder.
Yeah, we don't count it.
And it's, I'd say, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm tempted to put it in A personally. But what do you guys think?
B or A, yeah. And maybe
380 range is pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's okay. As far as I've also noticed is that it has shit range after a certain point, so you want to keep it relatively close to your troops.
Yeah, but because it's fast, you can usually zip it away if you need
But it's
to.
also really fast, so you can just roll it up, shoot. If something comes near it, you just roll through your own infantry unit and then get away.
Yeah, and then when it
It
runs
can
out of ammo,
reposition really
roll
easily.
it through some enemy infantry, and then ride away and shoot again.
Yeah, like I'd say it's like probably C, I guess.
I would see
It's
it in
neat.
B,
It's
but
neat.
maybe
but-
C. I could. I'm not using that often because normally with
Yeah.
Khorne you just rush.
You could just rush them instead. Like this,
Yeah,
again, it's not like unless you're trying to like duel with something, or you know
Ooh.
that they aren't gonna, if they don't have ranged units to deal with it, like you can just run up and just shoot at them and get free damage, and then run in, charge.
let's do a
second charge.
Khorne kite game one day, like
Oh.
with 2 of those and just kite around the map.
I hate it already. Thank you.
Actually, you could probably if you have the mic,
Yeah.
we could probably do that
You probably
really
pull it
well
off.
with the
The
Flash Hounds,
thing
the
is-
Furies and shit, and just do a kite game with Khorne.
Yeah, don't give them ideas, Lucas.
I don't have the micro to do that, but tell that to Alexis, like, oh my god, it's gonna be so annoying.
So I'll put it in B, just so we can have a. Now that we're at the end of the Khorne, we'll take a look at everything retrospectively. I'm tempted to move the Skull Crushers down. Well, not Blood Crushers down. One, maybe, because I compare it to everything else in B.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, because they like the thing is, you're not gonna bring a blood crusher when you can bring a skull crusher,
no other way.
or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
bring
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Lucas? What do you think about the Blood
Wait,
Crushers?
why is
Working
the
on my
skull,
Khorne
why is the
kite book,
skull
sorry.
cannon- Why is the skull cannon B?
I'd say it's B. I mean, I was going to say
We'll
it
put
was
it
A.
up for the. We'll put it up because of the kite
For-
game, and then he's gonna
Yeah,
be the
kite
first
game, yeah,
YouTuber
we'll
to
do
discover
that,
the
yeah.
secret Khorne kite game.
We'll put this down.
don't make
Put
me
those down
vomit.
there. I can see the skull because I compared the skull cannons to everything else on B, and I'd probably
I could see it on B, yeah.
I could see it on B personally. Like I don't see it on C. Like I see it brought up more often than Warhounds or fucking dual weapons or blood squashers. See it brought way more often than those things. So
I would still put the dual weapon warriors 1 tier down because then we have all the anti-infantry options basically.
I might actually put the
But-
Minotaurs down one, but I don't know. Someone make a case for them.
I would put the Minotaurs down. Oh, you're not getting a Psycho was the one defending them earlier.
Psycho,
so
you
you're not
defend
getting a-
your Minotaurs with dual weapons. Psycho.
Yes, he's not here. Put him down. Put him down.
Nice. What else is there? Anything else retrospectively to move?
No, I don't think so.
That looks good. Like basically, Khorne is he's good at what he does. Like most of these units would be amazing in any other roster. In Khorne, they're good because they work together, but he's also one-dimensional as shit.
I wouldn't put the Minotaurs with dual
Oh, yeah, we
weapons
saw.
set out. I'd put them B because like at least they'll get their value back.
Will they though?
Yeah.
How much
like,
are
if you put them
Minotaurs?
into infantry, they get their value back
1100.
pretty easily.
No,
Like
they're
I've used
1600.
Minotaurs.
The what?
Like I know Willow that you only use Vestigors when like base markers are
No, wait.
good.
How much are
but,
Minotaurs?
Like, Minotaurs with dual
They're
weapons.
1600.
They're 1600.
1600.
Yeah, they're
They
1600.
should
Compare them to
regular
Beastmen.
Minotaurs with
They're
dual
1250.
Yeah, that's
What? They're
really
1600.
expensive.
Like for 1700, you get Minotaurs with great weapons.
The what?
Just saying here, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna move every Minotaur down a tier.
And
Just
I
'cause
mean,
of that
the great
price.
weapon Minotaurs are probably fine
Even
for
the
that price.
1700. You want 1700? I'd rather bring Skull Crushers any day of the week over that.
We should have told them the price.
It's like, oh my god, 1700. I'm putting, yeah, okay, sorry, Psycho. I'd like, this makes me want to put the throne up one tier because they're not as bad as that. 1600.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I never
weapons.
brought them, so I didn't even know they were that expensive.
Do you remember how shit Minotaurs with dual weapons were in Warhammer 2? Nobody brought.
Actually,
Everyone
they
just brought the
weren't shit.
shield,
They
right?
were just
And everyone
the
brought the great weapon.
issue with them was the fact that everyone missiles were the giant meta
Yeah, they were the
because they
bane.
were stupidly accurate.
They were
Like
the bane.
Peasant Bowman can fucking bullseye an elven like horseman off his fucking horse somehow. It's like, okay, all right,
While
game.
taking a shit through the legs.
Yeah, while taking a shit at the same time. So I don't think it's the fact that the Minotaurs themselves are shit for the dual weapons. It's just the fact that archers are way too accurate for what they're worth.
That's how you. That's how they
fair
got the pox arrows.
That's a fair call.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Anyway.
this is the end of.
Yeah, but with that cost increase, yeah, they definitely are F because they're just way too expensive for
That's
what they're
way
supposed to
too
do.
much.
Like if they were 1400 or 1300,
That's
I'd
more
say
reasonable, yeah.
maybe.
Like how much a spawn?
Spawn or 1,000.
1000.
Yeah. Spawn are so much better because they like you could just bring spawn instead of
Just bring spawn any day of the
Minotaurs.
week. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds reasonable. All right, well, thank you, one and all, for listening and watching. That is the end of our tier list of Khorne and Kislev. Next week we'll be doing some replays, and we'll also be taking a look at the other bits and pieces to do with Khorne and Kislev, but mostly be replays and maybe some community battles. So stay tuned, and I'll see you.
I hope
Alright,
I have
so-
the corn kite ready until then.
I hope you don't. So we'll see next week. Goodbye.